Hello, my name is Calculus Nova, and thank you for joining me on this redstone project that I have been working on. Now, what you see behind me is a Shulker box unloader. Now, I have looked for different versions of Shulker box unloaders all throughout YouTube and the internet, and unfortunately, I have not been able to find one that met certain criteria at which I was looking for. In particular, this one, actually, as you can see here, there are droppers at which drop out the shulker boxes into, in this case, it would be a water stream, and the items in this barrel over here, this dropper would shoot them out into a water stream over here. And unfortunately, I have not been able to find a shulker box unloader that would actually drop them directly into water streams. Usually you'd have to put them through a hopper stream and then take those items wherever you want them to go. I thought this was more practical in terms of getting it all into its own system. Now, this unloader also takes into consideration certain particularities when it comes to making it. For instance, if you were to take a shulker box that had no items in it, for example, and put it in, a lot of unloaders stop right there, and that's just it. Usually you have a comparator take a signal from a box that has something, and it would break it after it's been exhausted. But in this case, it was able to detect there was no item simply because it did not. This piston right here, which is detected when a item actually is detected, would normally retract. However, because there was no item in it, it didn't retract, and so when a shulker box is entered into it, it sends a signal down here, and then it breaks the box this way. Now, in other scenarios, if you were to have a single item into the shulker box, it sometimes also breaks the system. However, I was able to get around that by just simply turning a zero tick pulse into a single pulse, and then it was able to just do it properly without breaking the system. So that is just the general of how this works. Now, I will actually go through and build it, and I'll show the best way that I've been able to build it in as efficient of a way as possible. So starting with this block right here, let's bring it out a little ways, and let's select a few blocks such as a dropper here, a dispenser there, a hopper there, an observer there, comparator, repeater, and we will need a composter and a sticky piston. So from here we can go dropper into a dispenser, into a hopper below. Then we can go back to a dropper facing forward, go back to a hopper going down, a dropper facing behind. This one up here goes up like that. We may also want some glass. I will replace the dispenser with glass. Now for here, we will want 2 glass going this way and 1 solid block right up here. We take a comparator and a redstone repeater into a block right there, a sticky piston up here, and an observer going back there. A glass. Now, do bear in mind you don't need glass here. You could also use a block or a slab if you so wanted to. But in this particular case, I use glass just to indicate that it can be a block that is not a full block. However, any place where I put a full block, it actually does have to be a full block, one that can conduct a redstone signal. So continuing from this point, we do a repeater with 1 tick into a block. Let me actually take a note block. We put a note block here, or at least a block at which, when powered by a redstone signal and can be unpowered, so that way an observer can take a signal or detect it. One observer facing this way, hopper into that observer, and a sticky piston facing downward. glass here, glass there, and I will also want a slab and a barrel. Now this barrel, it doesn't have to necessarily be a barrel, but it does have to be a full block, a block that can conduct a redstone signal, so it can't be a hopper, it has to be a container. So it could be one of three things, either a barrel for 1.14, or it could be a dropper or dispenser. Nothing else will work in this place. Then another hopper down this way. Under this, we do a note block, a sticky piston, and 4 honey blocks, or alternatively, you can use slime blocks. In fact, since this is tileable, you could tile it up, but when you do, you have to alternate between honey blocks or, right here, slime blocks, and they will work alternating. Next, we will want a composter. Go there. Let's make sure the composter has at least one level. Then we will want an observer facing in this direction. And then we will want 2 observers facing in that direction. We will want another composter down here. Now this composter needs to have a level of 3. Okay. We take a stone brick and bring it down 2 blocks. 1 repeater that will go into, a comparator will go into a note block. This note block is to act as an update block for this comparator down here. Then from there we do 3, and the reason why we needed a signal of 3 is so that it's 1, 2, 3, and that way if you do tile it, the redstone won't interfere with other modules that go on either side. This goes into redstone block, and we do actually need a redstone torch, and then a sticky piston going up like that. A block goes on the sticky piston, and now we need glass going on there. Okay, so this one will be 4 ticks delay, this one 4 ticks delay, and this one 1 tick delay. Then on this side, we will do an observer chain. Over. Okay. Now this side looks like it is appropriate. Now we just have to finish it with a comparator right there and a repeater set at 4 ticks. Now for this side, which is the detection of Shulker boxes going into this dropper, we will do an observer down there. A comparator going on top of that observer going into a block, and then this branches in three directions. One, it signals this drop, it powers this dropper, and it also powers this dropper. However, this dropper will be powered with a 3-tick delay, and then it also powers this chain down here. This comparator will power this piston, and it will have a composter on top of it, and the power is, and it has a level of 1, at least 1. It could be more, but it has to be at least 1. And then underneath that one will be, oh, actually, no. These are supposed to be regular pistons. So that way it can toggle it back and forth when it's powered from above and powered below. And we have a comparator there, and then we will also need a note block here, and it has to be a note block because issue with a lot of comparators, if they're powered or if they detect a level through a block, oftentimes they get stuck turned on. So it needs a redstone signal. In this case, it would be this observer powering this, which would then unpower it, allowing the item to flow through. Now this should be completed if I have everything done correctly. We will just go through muting some of these note blocks, and I think that is everything. So at this point, we will do a test just to see if everything is done accordingly. And again, we will use this barrel. And in fact, we will use a barrel here and a barrel here. Actually, no, it's not done. I forgot one of the most critical elements, which is this slab. There. Okay, now it should work accordingly, so we will just let it sit for a while, and while it is going through the process, I will explain how this works. So, as in Shulker box enters this barrel, it goes through this hopper, and because the hopper is not faced directly into this hopper, it just stays in here waiting for this hopper to be unlocked. And again, this hopper feeds into this dropper. As soon as an item goes into this dropper, it gets detected here, and it powers this piston, which then shoots this composter up, which is detected by this comparator, and then it, of course, locks this hopper. Going back to this comparator, it sends a signal down this way, and it branches into 3 different directions. One, it powers these 2 dropper dispenser components right here. It powers this dropper and dropper, which then shoots the items into this barrel right here, and then it drops down here, and then it sends a signal that continues to the top, which then not only operates this breaker, but it also pushes this item, this composter back down. And if there's, of course, an item that goes through, it would then just be pushed back upwards accordingly. Once the Shulker box is placed on top of this hopper right here, it is either detected or it's not detected by this comparator. If it is detected, it's, as I said, pushes this up, and then it will break the item, the Shulker box, but then it will also hit these, and it will, on the one hand, unlock this hopper, which will allow any item inside this dropper to then funnel into this dropper, and then this observer faces this observer, which causes an observer clock, which then powers this dropper, and any any contents from the Shulker box that are in here will then go into the water stream. This composter right here gets pushed down, activating this comparator, and then it powers this and then depowers this piston, which means if there was an item, or at least one item inside the Shulker box, while the signal is going through this chain, this piston retracts it, and so the pulse never goes through here. Thus, it won't break the Shulker box because of that. It will instead break the Shulker box because of this. And that's pretty much all that is this Shulker box. If there's any questions in terms of how it works, I will provide the world in the descriptions, and I hope that's everything that anyone would need in terms of this creation. Now, as I said in the beginning, I created this because I could not find any contraption which met the criteria that I wanted. But if anyone does happen to know where one is, and especially one that happens to be more compact than this, since it is rather bulky, but it is at least tileable, that would be much appreciated if someone can send it in my direction. Well, anyways, thank you. My name is Calculus Nova, and thank you for joining me.